Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the ASUS Republic of Gamers Stars Invitational here from the DigiExpo in Helsinki. We're going to Game 2 of SjoW versus Evil Genius's IdrA.
And the next map is going to be on TotalBiscuit Alter, latest edition, the ladder version. And this map, again, is pretty good for IdrA.
Oh, yeah.
Like the previous one, the previous map, Terminus SE, is pretty good as well versus Terran. But when a Terran player identifies that Mech is pretty good here, you know, SjoW pulled out that win. On this map, though, I expect a lot more straight-up standard play from SjoW. Reaper Expand is very good on this map because of the cliff area and potential bunker harassment as well. On the other hand, pretty much straight-up predictable IdrA, hatchery, spawning pool. We'll see how things do go. And it looks like both players are ready to go. Winning this or advancing for IdrA today would be so good for his career as well, advancing ready for MLG Providence. There's nothing better than going into a huge tournament than winning the most previous one.
Yeah, coming off a high, especially an invitational, and while it's not so much of an endurance race, it's kind of like you're going up against the best of the best all the time. There are no easy wins in an invitational like this. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. On the TotalBiscuit Alter, I bring you Evil Genius's IdrA. He is in the blue trunks, and he is playing Zerg to the southwest. Versus his opponent from Team Dignitas, it is SjoW. He is in the red trunks, playing Terran to the northwest.
And like expected, I think Reaper Expands the most viable strategy and build on this map. And SjoW has had a pretty good year. I mean, he hasn't really... well, he's won IEM Kiev, and he's also won the IESF. He likes IE tournaments, apparently. And Greg, on the other hand, IdrA, had a very... Well, he had a good start. IPL 1 champion earlier this year. Then had a really rocky year, really bad. A lot of losses, a lot of early quits in tournaments. But after that IEM tournament, he's just playing so differently. And the one thing to note is it's now public as well. Alex Garfield from EG has actually been helping IdrA out with his mental stability for best of 3, best of 5, and more series. And that's one of the things. IdrA is going to Korea in December, I think, or possibly January. And he's going to the Slayer's house along with Huck. And one of the things that Boxer was most looking forward to was working with IdrA on his mental stability.
Well, the thing about IdrA is that IdrA is such an incredibly talented guy, and for at least a few-month period, people were always saying that IdrA's greatest enemy is IdrA, and he was the one holding himself back, and this mindset, Alex Garfield's done a great job of sorting that out. He's a much calmer, more collected person. He does fight now for the entire game. I mean, we don't see these early GGs from IdrA, and actually it has resulted in him winning a number of matches that he would otherwise have lost. So that's good. I believe he's also been reading, actually all been reading in the EG House, a book called Mind Gym. Apparently that's really, really good for getting your mental strength up for long endurance competitive events like this. So there you go. That's a recommendation for a little bit of light reading for you. Whatever the case, IdrA has grabbed his expansion. He's gone once again with the gasless expand, not believing that he needs to grab the Zergling speed too early. And of course, that really prevents him from doing any early game harassment. And SjoW will take advantage of that by grabbing the command center quickly. Once again, he's also gone gasless and establishing this expansion as quickly as he can.
Yeah, I mean, SjoW is not one of the fastest players. He doesn't have the best multitasking in the world, but what he does have is pure intelligence and is able to play the opponent rather than the game. When you play the game, you go react to Hellion, expand, react to Hellion, expand. My opponent could be early aggressive. On the other hand, he's playing now. I'm playing against EG's IdrA, who's been going 15 hatch against Terran for 12 months. There's no reason why I can't go command center first against this, which he is doing, which once again is going to allow him to have such a strong mid-game like we saw on Terminus. And I'm sure that IdrA is, you know, as much as he hates seeing this, there's nothing he can do if he's going to play the same over and over again. Because he should be saying, oh, you shouldn't be going CC first. What happens if I went pull first? And SjoW, on the other hand, says, you're not going to do that, mate, so don't try to tell me that.
Yeah, well, we're talking about a Terran that barely ever scouts, and it's, I suppose, true for him more so than most players that he does play the opponent rather than the game. He's not building based on what he sees, he's building based on what he knows, and he knows that IdrA tends to go down this route. But you've got to be really careful against a player of IdrA's caliber. It is almost arrogant to do that all the time, really believing that you know exactly what your opponent's thinking. That is a really big risk, and it can backfire.
Yeah, I think that the next map after this SjoW will most definitely not open with CC first, that's for sure. Doing it once, all right. Doing it twice, pushing limits. 3 times in a row will not work. But on the other hand, IdrA now is left in a pretty bad situation because against this, you want to be taking a very fast third base to keep up with your opponent. You know, the standard rule of being 1 base above your opponent if you are a Zerg is hard to apply on a map that doesn't have an easily accessible third base.
Yeah,
the third base here has the structural rocks at the south side. The one on the left is close to the Terran, and the one further away is really hard to defend because of creep not getting there and helping out.
Yeah, and you see a lot of Zerg players, more often than not, if they're going to take an early third, they will grab this one and kind of hope that it's almost a ninja expansion and their opponent doesn't notice. But now, of course, those opponents are figuring out that that's the common place for a Zerg to expand because they can't bust down the rocks fast enough unless they happen to have roaches, for instance, which is not what's happening here. We've got IdrA going lair. He's gone Baneling Nest and Evolution Chamber as well. Metabolic Boost is on the way up, but no sign of him taking a third as of yet.
It looks like IdrA's just going to play a very generic, traditional style of 2-base Mutalisk with that Spire. The thing is, though, he's playing against SjoW, who is changing it up again, really adapting to the series. Is actually going to be going Marine Hellion with probably combat shields for a bit of pressure early on if he decides to tech lab onto this barracks now as it lands down. Does he decide to do anything? Yes, he does. So I think if he tried to go Stim, it would take a long, long time to actually get Stim out. He's actually getting a third command center, so he may not try to go for an attack. But we'll have to see what add-on or what upgrade has been put onto that add-on.
Yeah, that will be interesting, won't it? If it is Combat Shield, then yes, it is designed for a timing attack. But in this case, it is Stim Pack, so I think he's just playing a longer defensive game at the moment, playing a bit reactively to what IdrA's doing, who I might add is playing 2-base Spire at the minute, which is going to be fairly effective, I would imagine, but that Marine count is starting to get pretty high, and that's what I'm kind of concerned about. If IdrA is able to deny the third, which we know is coming, he is not 100% convinced of that yet, then he'll be in a great position.
Yeah, it looks like SjoW is just going to take a very easy third base. He's not really looking for a timing attack, but if he takes a 3 bases and sits on it quite comfortably, the attack distances from natural to natural are so close, and then you have to keep in consideration if he kills creep like he is with these Hellions, he's going to be able to siege up eventually underneath the natural of IdrA to start to deny the gas income, make it extremely hard for IdrA to engage with Lings, Mutas, and Banelings. So we'll have to see how this does work out. We are now going to start tank production at the 9-minute mark, and that is very late. So actually he's getting an armory too, so he might be going for a very fast Thor for just a single Thor defense against the well-known, well-controlled Mutalisk control from IdrA.
Yeah, the problem is the single Thor probably won't be enough for that. It'll have to be done in combination with Marines. And honestly, at this point, what you're seeing more and more, and perhaps even the response from Blizzard with the introduction of that new unit in Heart of the Swarm that they're looking at, the Warhound, in that Thors on their own, just they're not enough against really good Mutalisk control. When you magic box, when you minimize the amount of missiles that are hitting your big pack of Mutalisks, you can take Thors out, and that's a lot of gas and a lot of minerals invested. You know, that's almost a command center every time around. So that is a little bit dangerous.
Slowly taking these rocks now, SjoW is to go ahead and plant that third base, but he hasn't gone into a Thor production. He doesn't really have the gas either, and especially the minerals. They are very expensive this early on, like you said, do get picked off relatively easy as well. So he's just going to ramp up that tank production, and this push, when it eventually comes, is going to be so strong to actually deal with. And it's all going to come down to how well can SjoW actually defend against Mules. We saw Select previously defend very, very well, and then his timing attack afterwards was that much stronger.
Yep, SjoW's going to add on a ton more barracks. That's going to be spotted immediately by IdrA, who will attempt to do some damage. He can't really stop them from being built, but he can delay it just a little. The third is coming down. IdrA doesn't have any scouting information on that yet. He doesn't know that the rocks have been taken out. So we have to assume, though, that he is going to at least have a look and see whether it's there.
Ooh, I think IdRA's about to gear up for a huge attack. He's not building any drones. He's about to push through, though, and the siege tech is not done. Uh-oh.
That's a problem. That's a major problem. Really nicely timed here by IdrA as he forces his way through that, busts his way through an incomplete wall. No deployed siege tanks mean a lot of very dead Marines to speed Banelings. Down goes that defensive bunker as well. IdrA doesn't have what he needs to complete this, but he is bringing in more reinforcements, drawing his opponent out of position with the Mutalisk to get that surround. Oh, there's the grab, and there you go. IdrA cleans that up. The question is, what kind of damage can he now do?
I don't know. It's going to be very tough. Thor is out to kill the Mulus, but at the same time, Lings are doing the most damage right now. There's no anti-Lings.
No, there really, really isn't. And SCV is not an ideal counter to a lot of Zerglings, and he is tearing it up here with the +1 upgrade. Loads of damage done to the economy of SjoW, loads of damage done to the production of SjoW, and SjoW's army is pretty much non-existent right now.
No, it's not, and more units are streaming down. He's now taking the gases on his third base as well, backing it up with strong macro and mechanics now as IdrA powers through, and it looks like he's going to be able to get a clean sweep from just a small hole within SjoW's build.
GG. There you go. Honestly, I've seen this a few times now from IdrA in that he tends to find... IdrA hates Warloffs, like, with a passion. He despises them. He likes to find holes in Warloffs, and he is really, really good at it. We saw him doing it quite a bit in ESWC. He was finding weaknesses where other people perhaps wouldn't be able to. He finds one there as well. He times that absolutely perfectly. Looks like he's going to go heavy muter, but actually goes quite light on the muter and goes heavier into the Ling. He gets in there just before the upgrade's complete, and it couldn't have gone better in that regard. So very well executed there by IdrA, and that ties up the series at 1 apiece. And now, of course, we're down to what is effectively a best of 3.
Indeed it is, and IdrA really punishing the greed that we're seeing from SjoW in Game 1 and Game 2.